Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Ready to go? Like we're on the monitor at 6:30. Here's Bill. Go ahead and call the July 14th, 2025 Resource Conservation Commission to order. Need appointed timekeeper. Jim was designated, but Kim, you want to do it? Okay, have Kim be the timekeeper tonight. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
Item 2 on the agenda, public appearance for non-agenda items. Looks like no one's here from the public in the room or online. So we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the June 9th RCC meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those meeting minutes? Second? Anybody?
I'll second.
Ryan, second, okay. Start the meeting note thing here. Oh, man. Okay, next. Any discussion on the meeting minutes?
Looks okay to me.
Okay, no discussion. All in favor of approving the June 9th RCC meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? Meeting minutes approved. A little bit slow tonight because I got to take notes too, so. All right, item 4 on the agenda, new business. Ordinance 2025-0-10, amending Article X floodplain overlay zoning of Chapter 22 zoning ordinance. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
I'll move approval of that as well.
Okay, Bill. Second?
I'll second.
Kim seconds. Okay. Up for discussion. Do you want to go over this?
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and share my screen and get it up there. All right. So effective, I think it was April 9th this year, there was a new flood insurance study for Dane County and incorporated areas. With that, the DNR was looking for communities affected by this to update their floodplain zoning ordinance. So the DNR has model ordinance language for communities to use. So, and Deanna primarily did the drafting of this, and then that would be in coordination with the DNR, who helped out, of course, based on their model ordinance. But as far as the new flood insurance study for Dane County, there actually wasn't any changes for Fitchburg. So, the flood plains are based off of these, or you would view them on the FEMA website in these things called FIRMS, Flood Insurance Rate Maps. And they're, based on a model of that waterway, based on the topography, volume of water draining into it. There weren't any changes to any of the firms in Fitchburg. So there were in some other locations, like I think Monona had some changes to some of their flood insurance rate maps, but none in Fitchburg.
So no boundaries changed at all?
No boundary changes
So
to the floodplain.
Boundaries changed, but not enough to affect the insurance rates? It's that there were no changes at all?
There were no changes. So if you go up on the FEMA website and you look up the most up-to-date firm panels for Fitchburg, they are all the same as they were previously.
One question I have, with the potential abolition of the FEMA department, how is that impact? I mean, it's in their language in here in the floodplain maps. If it does get abolished, are those floodplain maps still valid? Or any reference to them in our language here, FEMA?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the fallout would be for that, if that's something that a state agency would kind of have to take over. And I would assume they wouldn't redo all the maps, but yeah, that would be a challenge for sure.
Well, so the FEMA website has the maps, but the maps were generated by the insurance companies, right?
No, so the maps are generated basically by engineers, and then they get approved by FEMA.
Interesting. So they're called flood insurance rate maps.
But basically if you look at the map, really what it is, it has, a bunch of different colors, meaning different zones. So you'll see, one color might mean, the area within this color is in the 1% annual flood boundary. So, and then you might see kind of another color on the outside of it, and that's the 0.2% flood boundary. And that's all based off of a model. It's called HACRAS, but it's basically what they use to model any kind of a waterway. So someone has to go out and take survey of the area, so they know, like, well, if there's a flood, how's the water going to move through this corridor? Is there like floodplain storage anywhere? So it's really all based on the topography of the area, and then how much water it needs to flow through the corridor, essentially.
And in light of the Texas stuff going on down there, is the HEC-RAS model going to be updated to take in consideration for climate change? And we may have more higher precipitation events occurring and more frequent.
Yeah, so when you do the HEC-RAS model, the user would put in how many inches of rain, fell in a certain area. But I don't believe there's any imminent changes to that. I know, well, I should say, so I know the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, they're the ones that kind of come up with the, you say the 100-year storm, 500-year storm, they kind of come up with those values of precipitation, so based on their most current data in Madison, they say a 100-year, 24-hour storm is 6.66 inches of rain. And that's what everyone uses when they do these models. So I know they are working on updating those rainfalls, those precipitation depths. So when they publish a new atlas, then those would be the ones that people would use for models like this.
And do you know if they updated it after the August 2018 event where we had massive flooding?
So I think it was updated just prior to that. Yeah. So I don't believe there's been a no Atlas. We're on Atlas 14 now. That was, I believe, just before the 2018 flooding events. But
I mean, it seems like the city should be proactive, you know, again, in light of what's happened in Texas and other places, New Mexico and flooding and
North Carolina had
We
2,000
need to-
feet of elevation.
we need to, what's that?
North Carolina had 2,000 feet of elevation getting flooded.
Yeah. I mean, we need to be looking at that. Otherwise, there'll be lawsuits, it'll be costing us a lot more money if we make the initial investment up front to understand the true potential that could occur in our watersheds. I think that's something that we need to look at.
And to some extent we do, so we don't just have people look at the 100-year event and say, okay, you're good. They also have to look at a 500-year event as well.
What's a 500-year event rain amount?
So a 200 is like 7 point something. The 500 is, I want to say, 8 point something inches of rain. Over a 24-hour period. And then it kind of, you know, certainly you could design things to withstand a 10,000-year event. It's just kind of, you know, depending on what kind of infrastructure you're trying to protect.
There is a map later on in here, so maybe you can walk us through, you know, what would happen in a 100, 500-year, 1,000-year event, you know, in terms of getting all the water from the city into Lake Barney?
So I think the map that you're referring to is the flood storage district map, and that was a map generated by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. And that map basically just designates certain locations that would naturally, just due to the topography, they're depressional areas, they would hold flood water and provide storage of flood water in a heavy rain event. So it is a new map.
I didn't see it in here. Where is it at? You know, I just kind of scrolled through. It will pop up.
Well, if you look at the outline, that might help too, in the PDF. Like if you downloaded the entire packet.
Yeah, I did.
You could scroll down.
Just kind of scrolling quickly through.
Okay, I've got it up
There you go.
on my screen now. Let me just zoom out. Gotta keep zooming out here.
Page 44, right?
So, and this doesn't, it pretty much encompasses all of Fitchburg. But these red areas are what's been designated as flood storage districts. So there's certain regulations of what you can and can't do. Mainly you wouldn't be able to fill the areas unless you were to take out or create more storage in the same watershed elsewhere. So this map is, I'll say it's new in 2025, but it is, as far as I can see, exactly the same areas from the last map, which was in 2014. So there were no changes to the flood storage districts based on this most recent flood insurance study update.
So Lake Barney is in the far south of the rather large 6 by 6 mile city, and nearly all of the developed area is, 3.5 miles north of there. So what happens if we get an enormous rainfall? Do we have anything that leads, like, do all roads lead to those flood storage designated areas, or do we capture a lot of that in our sewer and then whatever else just kind of goes wherever gravity takes it?
Yeah, so there's several different kind of watersheds, and Fitchburg's the kind of the headwaters of several different watersheds. So if you're kind of where my mouse is now, in this area, it's really kind of most of the urban service area. All the water drains into Nine Springs Creek. So all that water is gonna go into Nine Springs Creek.
What flows into Dunn's Marsh?
So the areas north,
Okay.
some of this land kind of adjacent to it here, some of the Sub-Zero property, a little bit south of McKee Road, and then a pretty good amount from the city of Madison to the north. And everything that goes into Dunn's Marsh also goes into Nine Springs Creek.
Okay.
So you've kind of got that area. Then on the west side, again, roughly this area flows into the Quarry Ridge Pond, Goose Lake, and then ultimately Badger Mill Creek into the Sugar River. Over here on the east side of the city, you've got two different streams. You've got Swan Creek and Murphy's Creek. So a good chunk of the Swan Creek neighborhood flows into Swan Creek. A lot of this new developing uptown area, as it's called, flows into Swan Creek, Terravessa, and then as you go further south, that's when the topography kind of changes. There's another ridge, and then you start having a lot of the water in this area flowing into Murphy's Creek. And then you've got, kind of the south of Sub-Zero Parkway and in this whole area here. Technically it would be, it would all flow into Lake Story Creek, I would say. I would say it flows into Story Creek, but it's mostly kind of these isolated depressional areas. So you would have to have like a biblical amount of rain, so it would fill up all these depressions and start skipping over roads and farmland to actually make its way to Lake Barney. The areas closer to Lake Barney drain there directly, but even there you can see there's these other little pockets of kind of these depressional areas that kind of store water.
What are these stormwater detention basins? What are they designed for? What flow event?
They're designed for a 200-year event.
200-year.
And the requirement is, in a 200-year event, there has to be 6 inches from the top of the pond to the top of the predicted water surface. So there's like a 6-inch buffer. And then for the 100-year event, there's a 1-foot buffer.
Okay, thanks.
So how do we design our retention ponds then, given that however often they need to be dredged?
So the dredging of the ponds, or basically any sediment that's beneath the water surface, doesn't affect the storage at all, because it's, if it wasn't filled with sediment, it would be filled with water already. So the reason for dredging is once that, the permanent pool, the normal water surface elevation of the pond gets too shallow, when water enters in, it starts mixing up all the sediment from the bottom, and then it gets released. So you want to have, generally you'd say like 5 feet is what most of these ponds are designed with depth-wise. So, all the sediment will kind of collect. It can build up a couple feet, and then they say generally once you get to shallower than 3 feet of water depth in the pond is when you generally want to dredge, and that because the sediment starts getting kind of kicked back up.
And then can you comment on the southern half or 2/3 of the city is largely undeveloped versus all of the impervious surface to the north, but then I guess especially with new developments, we need to capture at least 100% of all the rain that falls on there. So how does the the natural undeveloped surface to the south compare with the developed areas in terms of managing a storm, a large storm, a large amount of rain?
Sure. So, I mean, the biggest difference is like you said, impervious area versus agricultural field. So, naturally, the rural area to the south, if you get an inch of rain, it's going to be able to absorb a greater percentage of that than the urban service area. So there's going to be generally, per acre comparison, there'd be kind of less runoff generated from the agricultural area than there would be from the urban service area. And the idea is, with these ponds and infiltration basins, is you're trying to kind of recreate the previous condition prior to development with these, man-made ponds and various basins. And in general, I mean, the south, 2/3 or so, it's not, it's mostly, the conveyance system is mostly ditches and culverts versus storm sewer and the street and curb and gutter. So, that's kind of another difference between the urban and rural areas.
The rural areas, it's all gonna infiltrate eventually, right? But like
Well,
our detention ponds, those are clay lined at the bottom, so those things generally, like evaporation is what brings those back to equilibrium?
so and even in the south, if you get enough rain, the soil can only absorb so
Sure.
much. So there's still a lot of runoff from these areas that'll get into Murphy's Creek and Lake Barney and elsewhere. It might take a little bit more rain to get the runoff that you would see in these urban areas, but certainly there's still runoff from the agricultural areas entering the water system. But so the ponds in our urban area, they generally are clay lined, but each of these ponds has they'll call it a water quality control structure, basically an outlet to the pond. So a lot of times it'll be basically a manhole in the pond that has an orifice in it, a hole, so maybe a 4-inch hole, so it allows that water to kind of get in slowly, detaining the water, kind of slowing down how fast it exits, and that also gives it gives time for the sediment to kind of settle out in the pond while it's slowly draining out through this small control structure. So that's kind of how the ponds work.
So we have about 10 minutes left for this topic, so I don't know if there's anything else that needs to go through from the document.
I can quickly go through some of the.
We don't have any campgrounds in the city, do we, that would be impacted by the floodway? Because I know there was discussion.
There's a big campground section in it, yes. I couldn't find any. I'm not aware of any that at this point, at least.
Just when you pitch a tent in your backyard.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, that's an interesting point though. So like my son is mentoring the Madison West Rocket Club, and sometimes they're looking for places to launch. And at one point he was talking to like farmers in the south half of Fitchburg. So what if there was an event where over a couple of days people pitch some tents? Would that apply here, or
Well,
is this for permanent?
Yeah, I think this is more so for kind of permanent campgrounds is my interpretation of it.
That would make more sense.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, someone, if they got the permission from a farmer whose property was adjacent to a creek to pitch a tent for a day, I mean, the city probably wouldn't even know that was happening, and it's kind of between two private parties at that point. Not something the city could necessarily regulate. It's really more for if there was a private campground that wanted to develop an area, they would have to follow a bunch of regulations, and including, I believe one of them was there'd have to be a way for that campground to provide a 72-hour kind of warning that there could be a flooding issue. So that's one of kind of the major stipulations, is having that advanced warning requirement.
That didn't seem to happen in Texas.
What's that?
That didn't seem to happen in Texas.
No. So as far as the actual language itself, really I think it was more deleting things than necessarily adding things, kind of rewording things. Just for example, they basically rewrote this section here for the official maps based on the flood insurance study. They deleted everything that was in there previously, replaced it with this information, but you'll notice, a lot of this green text is identical to the red text, really, except for this flood insurance study for Dane County dated 4/9/2025. So again, it looks like, I think, more changes than really there actually are, but certainly there's a few different things. I guess we can take a look at 22-789, for example. There's no changes to the different flood districts. They're just defined in a slightly different way, or how they're regulated is defined in a slightly different way. For example, the floodway district, it describes kind of what it is, what its purpose is. It says it's within the AE zone or the A zone, so that's the 1% flood zone. And really, I mean, that was kind of the only change to it. They kind of also mentioned that the A zone is also can be within the floodway district, and there wasn't really that much substantial change to what this ordinance actually does. Let's see if we can find a few things that are a little bit more important. So section 22-791, there were actually some things added. So this is about removing lands from the floodplain, and it essentially just kind of outlines how you would do that a little bit more clearly. So you would need to get a letter of map revision approved by the DNR and FEMA. So that's something that people can do. And certainly, if you look at the floodplain maps, it's not going to be 100% accurate because people are just using the best data available. There could be some minor changes in where the actual flood fringe is. So if someone had a dispute, they could hire an engineer to kind of do a little bit more of a detailed analysis of this area, maybe take more survey, put that information together, and if the FEMA can then approve and say, hey, yeah, we think your analysis you completed is more detailed and more accurate than what was previously done, and then they can actually revise the floodplain map.
Looking at our floodplain maps or floodway maps, do we have structures that are actually in those areas?
So there aren't any occupied structures, so no homes are in any of the floodplains in Fitchburg.
Is it parks then, or?
Yeah, there's some kind of recreational uses.
That I saw some here about recreation.
But more so just like trails.
Okay.
I can pull up. Not seeing this. Okay, now you are. properties. And this is from the DNR Surface Water Data Viewer website. If it wants to cooperate, sometimes okay, here we go. So this is 9 Springs. This is kind of the biggest one. So this blue area is the 1% chance. This area in the orange is the 0.2% chance. Let me throw on an aerial so you can see a little bit better where we're at.
I mean, if you looked over where Goose Lake is, what does it look like over there? No.
So yeah, there's nothing there's no floodplain in Goose Lake until you get to the actual lake. So none of this is in.
So the road's not the floodplain that goes through there?
It's not, no.
It's flooded.
But it's flooded, right. So yeah, it doesn't actually start until closer to the Badger Mill Creek here. So yeah, in Fitchburg, the biggest FEMA floodplain is through the 9 Springs area. So, there's not even really much agriculture. As far as structures, I was actually thinking this substation might have been in it, but it's not.
That's one right off the Capitol Springs Trail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I think this is somewhat of the result of the county being very proactive and buying a lot of this land, quite some time ago to, essentially keep it as it is and have more control over it. Then you got the Swan Creek area. Here it starts right about here. So you have some apartments that are close. That looking at it from the aerial view, it looks close.
Yeah, those new apartments.
Yeah,
right?
but the reality is this area is actually much higher in grade, so it looks close, but it's really there is no flood risk. And when there are developments like this, for example, we would look at what the flood elevation is in this area, and here they were way above it, no concern. But
how does that detention pond compare with the floodway? Is that higher elevation still?
it is, yep. So this detention pond and
So if that
this
overflows,
detention
it
pond,
goes into the floodway?
It does, yep. Both of these will just overflow directly into this floodway. You can kind of see a little bit more of
And Murphy's
Swan
Creek is down a little further south.
Yep. We'll see how far it'll let me zoom out, but yeah, so it's generally a fairly narrow band. When the topography is a little bit more flat, then the water can expand a little bit wider, and you get these bigger areas. You can go down to Murphy's Creek here. So again, kind of being at the headwaters of the creek, there's not really a floodplain here. There's just at this point in the creek, there's not enough water getting to it. But as you get further down, you've got more area that's draining to the creek, and then the floodplain will actually expand. So now we're out of Fitchburg.
What about over by Dunn's Marsh?
So that is actually not in the floodplain.
No.
So there's no FEMA floodplain here, and this blue is just a water body. This is so it doesn't start until east of Fish Hatchery.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can see these panels are still from 2009. They didn't update this with this most recent one, but again, if I go To the east, I think by Moreland Road, these are probably 2025 panels. Yeah, so here's the 2025 one down here. But yeah, in Fitchburg, no changes.
Okay. All right, we're 5 minutes past, so any more discussion or anything else you want to share?
No, I think it's pretty much covers it.
Okay. Any other discussion? If no further discussion, all in favor of approving the resolution, say aye. Ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed?
Aye.
None opposed, so approved.
Ben, I'm really mad at you for letting me know that there's another map I can go play with.
Oh, yeah, the surface water data viewer map is very interesting.
All right, agenda item 4B, organics management food scrap stop program. Ben?
Yep, and I'll share my screen again here, but so I think as Chris kind of let everyone know, council did not approve the contract with Sustain Dane for food scrap collection at the Fitchburg Farmers Market. The main concern that was voiced was kind of cost per estimated pound of organics being diverted. So it was kind of I was kind of encouraged to look at some other opportunities. So with that, I did speak with Dane County Waste and Renewables, and they were able to provide a quote for Fitchburg to get involved into their food scrap stop program.
Bill, what was the discussion about that with the council on it? Why they didn't approve it?
They thought it was not a wise use of $10,000. Yeah, I mean, it was, $3 a pound to collect scraps that probably didn't cost $3 a pound to buy initially was one of the comments that was made.
Okay.
Yeah, it really, to me, felt like it came down to the cost, and even though there was, I think, a big outreach and education component to that contract, I think there was the thought that, and people probably know about composting in the community already, so maybe that wasn't valued as much as I had initially thought. But regardless, I did speak with Dane County Waste and Renewables, and they do have a very, I think, it's a new service. It just kicked off, so I don't really have a lot of data to share as far as how it's been going in other communities at this point. But, and maybe I'll just start with these pictures. They're providing communities with these, almost your standard refuse and recycling cart with a lock on it. And what you can do, or what a resident can do, is go to DaneCountyWasteRenewables.com and sign up to be part of the food scrap stop program. When they do that, they will get the code for these locks, and they'll be able to take their food scraps, open up these containers, and get rid of them. So as far as what kind of things they can accept, it's your pretty standard stuff at this point: fruits, veggies, coffee, tea, eggshells, beans, and nuts. So again, you're pretty much your standard stuff. No meat, no eggs, dairy, no garbage, of course. But they will provide 4 carts, just like the ones we saw, and they pick it up once per week, and for the course of 1 year, the cost would be $7,000. So I think from a cost perspective, that might be received a little bit more as you get a full year's worth of service. The idea would be to have these carts at the Fitchburg Recycling Drop-Off Center, and hopefully people could kind of combine trips if they're dropping off cardboard or yard waste or brush. It's also a fairly central location, maybe a little bit south, but generally a fairly central location. It's got the space to accommodate it, and people are kind of already familiar with it as a recycling location. So we'd be looking at putting 4 carts down there. Again, I can't really estimate how many tons of waste I think we would get over the course of the year. It's a new program, so I don't really have any data to kind of justify any estimate with. But I do think it is a good option for improving food waste diversion. Dane County Waste and Renewables pretty much handles everything, so there'd be no staff time for picking up and disposing of the food scraps. The $7,000 essentially covers everything.
So I guess what are the rules? All 4 of these carts have to be in the same place. We couldn't try and place them strategically near large multifamily developments, which is where the service would be the greatest.
I think for now, just due to having one location for them to stop and pick things up, right, is kind of the idea. But in the future, maybe you have 4 carts at the recycling drop-off center, and you could maybe add 2 carts here, 2 carts somewhere else. But yeah, that would certainly be a great idea.
I'm thinking the drop-off site. I don't know that people naturally go there once a week, but they would kind of have to go there once a week because food scraps. Yeah. If you keep it any longer than that, you're going to run into trouble. And I'm just wondering if there's a better location, and one that would, I guess, if you could pick the place within the city that has the greatest number of people who don't have a backyard.
Well, another thought was, and again, this is probably more located in a single-family residential area, but McKee Farms Park.
I guess if people go to the park every week, that would be something.
It's somewhat of a destination,
but people probably don't want to be driving around with their compost in their car for they want to do that for as short a drive as possible.
Yeah. So this would be through the winter as well?
This would be through the winter as well, yes.
And is this, like, when you sign up, do you get the special pail from Dane County, or bring?
You do not, so you'd be kind of responsible for, your own receptacle and transportation of the food scraps to the drop-off location. I guess the location, again, not set in stone. The thought was the recycling drop-off center, but certainly open to any other ideas. I think the only stipulation is at this point it would probably have to be a city-owned parcel.
Now, you couldn't do it like at Hy-Vee or Pick and Save. Everybody goes to more than maybe a couple times a week.
You could if you get buy-in from the owner.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, they'd have to approve that.
I guess the thing in my head is driving to the drop-off center. People might wind up making a special trip and burning a quart of gas to drop off a gallon of food scraps, and that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that is the kind of the challenge with citing it. I agree. You want it to be ideally somewhere where it's not an extra trip. Yeah. The grocery store idea is a great idea, I think, because people go to the grocery store. You have to go to the grocery store with some frequency. Well, that's an interesting idea. I would like to kind of feel that out.
I'm not sure you're having that, food waste around their building.
Right, I
They
don't,
may not like the rats or something, because they always have those traps outside.
yeah.
Well, I mean, these are closed carts, so in theory there shouldn't, but I hear you, people are gonna spill stuff,
yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, do you know, are there other, this program, since it's new and recently started, are there other locations that are using this program, and do you know where they're
Yeah,
keeping their carts?
so Madison has a couple locations. They have one in Warner Park on the north side, and then they have another location by somewhere around the Vilas Zoo. Middleton has a location, again, I believe in a park. So far it's kind of generally been parks. But I guess, location aside, I think this is still a pretty good program and worthwhile to kind of meet some of the goals in the sustainability plan as far as food waste diversion. Dane County Waste and Renewables would also allow us to apply the $1,000 grant we received from them to this program in lieu of the Sustain Dane program. So, the actual cost would be $6,000 versus $7,000. But I think if...
And it seems like to me it should be closer to the multifamily homes.
Yeah.
Because, single family, we can compost in their yard or take, but those people, they really have no place to go for their waste. And they don't have any waste to take down usually to the recycling facility other than cardboard.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe the hub could be a good location. So that's the new park.
where's it at?
It's off
Traceway?
Traceway Drive.
Right next to the High Line.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there's several large multifamily complexes.
The old Fairways and Pines, which is now Renew.
Yeah.
That could work out pretty well.
And the city owns a parcel right next to the tennis courts across the street from the hub.
They do. Yeah, that could be a good idea.
Also, another thought would be maybe by where some of the community gardens are.
Oh, sure.
Like in the, various parks.
Yep. Quarry Hill and
Keys,
Swan Creek.
Swan Creek.
Now that you're not talking for 2 seconds, why don't you pull up landfill.danecounty.gov/compost. Tell me if I got the right site.
I'm sorry, that was...
landfill.danecounty.gov/compost. And then if you scroll down, there's a map there, resident food scrap drop-offs. There you go. Is that...
Yep, this is it. So the Verona one isn't up yet, but...
Where's it located at?
It is...
Azure Prairie Network.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Azure Prairie Needs Network in their parking lot.
Oh, next to the Mustard Museum.
Next to their...
Oh, right, is that right behind Willie Street Co-op and stuff?
Quarry Skate Park.
Okay.
Skate park.
Oh, there's another one.
Oh,
there is?
sorry, that's a restaurant.
Okay, same color, yeah.
Ben's hungry.
Well, there's the one at Warner Park there up at the top.
Warner
There's
Park,
the
here's
zoo.
Vilas.
Are there any farmers in Fitchburg that would just say, hey, bring your stuff here and toss it, and then my pigs will eat it or something?
Yeah.
Maybe. At Warner Park, and then Dane County has just a couple at their landfill.
Oh gosh, 4 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't use it when we make our topsoil, right?
Just have the lock carts and.
I don't know how they make that soil out there.
Yeah, so we could dump it back in there. The concern is we are getting very tight on space, just with the composting of the yard waste itself. I think, at first, it probably wouldn't make that big of a difference, but if the program really took off, I don't know that we could accommodate that.
What's our current ratio of browns to greens? I mean, because this would essentially be 100% greens.
Depends on kind of the time of year,
Whether it's grass clippings.
whether it's grass clippings or leaves that you're mostly getting. Yeah.
I was wondering if this would, I would think the piles we have out there are kind of enormous. I would think this would help things along, but I can't say that for sure.
Yeah, right, it is kind of hard to say.
Well, I also think, regarding the location, a lot of it's also going to depend on education and awareness and letting people know about this program. And, we can always try it at some of these locations we've mentioned, and if we feel like, there's other locations, we could probably always move it.
Carts are easy to move.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder, do you think they would be open to, kind of starting in a location and then, I don't know, going for however long and then moving it to another location?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
And that way then you're kind of maybe moving it around, so more people get an opportunity to be closer to it.
Yeah, and you could even say right away, look, we're going to try it here for a while and get some statistics. We're going to try it at a different place, and we'll eventually leave it wherever we get the most stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it's exciting, and I mean, I compost at home, so I'm an avid believer in it, and I think if this is something we could get going, I think we have a great opportunity to do a lot of education and outreach around it.
And we should have information, because people have to supply their own bucket, we should have some kind of a recommendation, depending on family size, you could get an old stainless steel soup container, or if you got a lot of people, go get a 5-gallon bucket from Home Depot or something.
Yeah. With a lid.
With a lid, yes, always with a lid. And how to minimize fruit fly larvae.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think with that, I'll plan to look a little bit more into the location options, but I think I'd like to get a resolution to approve a contract with them, and I think I'd like to do it to have that resolution for our next meeting then.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Sounds
Plan
good.
for that.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Can we do some outreach at the farmer's market then?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good place.
I figured, probably take out like an ad in the Fitchburg Star, just a quarter-page ad or something, and get some social media posts, some flyers.
We just had Chris's article in there, so.
All right.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, we can move on to item 4C, planning the 2026 RCC operating budget.
I'll go ahead and share my screen again.
did notice there were several places for this, the Swan Creek monitoring station. I guess I was confused at different amounts.
Okay, yeah, we can look at that. So
That's one big, the big
up here. Yeah, so in our non-operating revenues, we will list out any contributions from other entities that we know we're getting. So for example, Swan Creek monitoring is listed here, and this is just to account for the USGS grant. So
so that's what
they're providing the $66,750, and then again, same down here. It's the $2,200 that the town of Dunn is providing.
They still just keep doing that?
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a 2% increase each year. The thing that does get a little bit confusing is, you've got this money up here, almost $9,000, but that doesn't mean that the Swan Creek monitoring station costs $9,000 plus $30,000. The total cost of it still has to be reflected down in here. So it's $20,000 for Fitchburg, and roughly $10,000 from these other entities. But as far as other operating budget items, there's not really any significant changes. There was this new account, or I shouldn't say new, an account that wasn't funded the last couple of years for inlet repair and maintenance by others. So this would be if there was an inlet that had a crack in the adjustment rings and we needed to get someone out and replace the adjustment rings with something new. Typically, we just do this during our street resurfacing projects. It's the most cost-effective way to do it. A crack in an adjustment ring isn't an emergency, so you can wait a year to do it. If you're redoing a street, it just makes a lot of sense to have them fix it when they're already got their crews out there working. So when we do our street resurfacing project, there's money in the CIP allocated from stormwater rates to do some of that kind of work. That's a separate item than what's listed in this operating budget, but we put some in here just in case things do come up and we need to hire something out.
I noticed under 5930-345, public education, that went down. Seems like we, I don't seem like we should be cutting costs on public education and outreach.
5930, 355, 345. I believe I should pull up the other sheet, but I think it was a difference in this advertising for the Fitchburg Star. So that's not something I necessarily get to choose. There's like a city budget, then it's divided across the different categories. So $2,500 in the Fitchburg Star actually gets a pretty decent amount of stuff. So there's going to be a quarter-page ad in the next issue of the Fitchburg Star for just kind of promoting the Adopt a Storm Drain program, and it's fairly inexpensive. You could take out quite a few ads in the Fitchburg Star for $2,500. So yeah, you're right. You don't really want to see the budget numbers decrease, but I think that's one that is manageable. Let's see.
As long as we're on that page, do you have anything to say about all the ones that are still awaiting Misty?
These are more just kind of administrative fees, not really anything to do with operation of the,
And we don't expect any surprises there. Whatever the 25 number is, the 26 number should be
pretty much
close.
pretty much the same. Yep, exactly. Yeah, so those numbers these funds don't really have anything to do with maintenance of any stormwater infrastructure.
Well, just to go back to that public education for the waterway cleanup and sustainability and RC events, do we actually spend all the amount that's given to us, or?
We do not, no.
You know?
No. So I think last year, we did have to buy some new gloves, some bags, of course. We had to get some new vests, but it was under $100.
So I guess just to reiterate, wait, here, 2, 4, 6 numbers up there, and the Fitchburg Star advertising was the only one that decreased?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So I kind of noticed that everything was pretty close. There were 2 things that jumped out. One was the Swan Creek monitoring that was up by $103,000.
Up by $3,000.
Well, it says $306,750 for 2025 and $409,750 for 2026.
Oh, on
For the grand totals there.
that is a different grant. So the $403,000 is the EPA grant that was going to be used. It was going to be used this year for the Crescent Road Stormwater Improvement Project. So we wanted to get that one done this year. Put it out to bid. Got one price back. Wasn't a super competitive bid. We're potentially going to go ahead with it, but in talking with the contractor, they actually felt that they were going to have trouble getting pavement down by October 31st. So the decision was made. We'll just bid it out in the winter, try to get more favorable bids, and take care of it.
So we have that money already in place then?
It is, but since it's not getting, and actually we just got officially the award letter today. So it was also, I think, in last year's operating budget, but since I know it isn't going to get spent this year, I put it in for this one.
So is that an actual change in value, or did we just not know the grant amount until today?
No, so last year when we did it, I was estimating what the grant value would be based on estimates. It's an 80-20 grant, so EPA pays 80, city pays 20. I didn't have all the full information on what 80% of the project.
So we didn't actually have the $306,000 last year?
No, that was an estimate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Exactly. But yeah, so stormwater utility again, not really any very significant changes. This budget has been pretty appropriate.
And the other big jump was down at the end, other contractual services, which is like 20 line items here, but it's it's over $100K higher this year than last year.
Refuse and recycling section.
Other contractual services, it's the
290.
290, yeah.
Yeah, so this is our refuse and recycling
right.
budget. So there's 2 reasons why there's a significant jump. One, so all of the services that Pelletary provide, there's a cost increase for each year of the contract. It's about 3.5%. But the other big factor that makes that increase is it's based on the number of residents. So we figure there's another 200 residents by the end of next year that will be receiving this service. So between the additional residents and the additional costs for the services, you end up with this larger increase. I did also put $8,000 in, requested for, so we can continue the food scrap stop program, the Dane County program. So that is kind of the only new thing I'll say in this other contractual services budget. So yeah, hopefully that'll get approved.
Yeah, at the top it does say, assuming 6,600 homes in the first half of the year and 6,750 in the second half. So see what you're saying there.
Yeah, that's by far the biggest fund with the change.
And is the fuel surcharge, is that still left over from when prices spiked in 2004 or whatever?
Oh, that was added in. I added that into the budget. It was kind of still diesel prices, I think around COVID had gotten really high. So as part of the contract that the city has with Pelletary, it allows them to charge a fuel surcharge if the diesel prices are above a certain rate. So you're right, that hasn't been as big of a factor. But we put it in there just because no one can predict what the diesel prices are going to be next year. Something could happen, and you could have a huge fluctuation. As far as kind of Resource Conservation Commission items, there is still money for green events, speakers, films, and then recycling events. That one did increase a little bit. Just a Resource Solutions fee has gone up a little bit for our electronics and shred event, so that was captured in there.
So does that $1,000 cover both the recycling events we have?
Yeah, and as well as Pelletary's fee. So they provide one free shred event.
They charge us for the other one.
But they charge for the other one now.
What do they charge us?
I think it was $250 or something.
Okay.
Which, I think we had, 8,000 pounds of paper plus. So.
Yeah. Good deal.
Let's see, is there anything else worth highlighting here? Not so much. I mean, we'll see in maybe the next meeting we'll have our discussion of, the more detailed rate setting for next year, and kind of figure out what that'll be. Just looking at, kind of these preliminary numbers, there definitely will be an increase. We did not increase last year. It remained at $232. That was, largely because of the reduction in the recycling price, going away from the quote-unquote unlimited recycling program, which allowed the city to maintain the same rate. But again, the cost is going up roughly 3.5%. That doesn't mean the rate needs to be increased by 3.5%. There is still kind of a healthy fund balance available that I think can be drawn down.
Do we have an official policy on what we want that fund balance to be, minimum and maximum?
Yeah, I think it's between 15 and 25%.
Okay.
I think
that's what we have for our general fund.
Closer to 25%, I think, is preferred. But we're over 25% now, so from what I understand, I think that would allow you to draw down the fund balance a little bit, kind of subsidize the rates, if you will.
Yep.
Were there any other questions on the operating budget for either stormwater utility or refuse and recycling?
Nope. Any other discussion? If not, we can move on to agenda item 4D, bring your own bag event for 2025. Kim?
Yes, so I know it is mid-July and I do not have a date set yet, but I'm still hoping to get something pulled together. I'm tracking down our contact at Pick and Save, who we partnered with. We worked with the Lions Club to, collect the plastic bags. And I had talked with her about doing this event in July of this year. So I have an email to her to see about getting a date set. So it'll be towards the end of July. But then Ben, I'll follow up with you to also kind of find out timing wise and if we have additional bags, if we still have some bags left to. Perfect. And I thought we could do more education around, it's basically what we did last year, and Ben was with me at Hy-Vee, is we kind of use Plastic-Free July as an opportunity to educate people to bring their own bags, and then if they didn't have their own bag, we handed out a bag to them. And I think we can also educate them on the fact that, if they do use plastic bags, which we're hoping that they cut down on the use of those, that they can bring them back to the store to get them recycled, and they'll be turned into park benches. So I think there's some opportunities to do some additional education around those efforts. So stay tuned. I will, once I get it set, I'll get information out and we'll get it set up.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, agenda item 5, old business. Feedback on the Reduce Your Food Waste Being Landfill event.
So, unfortunately, I was sick and was out for several days and was pretty bummed I couldn't make it, so I really don't have any great recap to provide.
For the first 45 minutes of it. It was interesting.
Yeah. How many people were there?
What's that?
How many people were there?
2 dozen?
Maybe a dozen or 12 to 15 people, I think. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know who has a sign-in sheet, so. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was interesting. Good questions were answered and.
Yeah. Good information from Rick Iverson on home composting, and then Sam Warden from Sustained Dane on the farmers market food scraps collection. And Robert Pierce is entertaining. Talking about how much compost they use at the farm.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 6, Bill, the council update.
Yeah, so a couple of road related things. The water main repair is completed on Fish Hatchery Road. And coming up later this year, Fish Hatchery Road, there's spots near Lacey Road as well as near Sherrill Drive where the road is in awful condition. The city is getting into a 50-50 split with the county to pay for some improvements there. And then Cyan Road, I don't know if everybody's aware of, where McCoy Road, that's being realigned into a T intersection, and when they did some initial testing, everything was just kind of collapsing. It was almost like a quicksand kind of a substructure, and so we had to bring in a change order for 20 tons of crushed rock of appropriate size? Is that?
20,000 tons?
That's what I meant to say, yeah. Yeah, a lot of crushed rock, so they'll put between, I think, 3 and 6 feet of gravel along the affected areas to kind of support the road.
I'm glad they kept a bike trail open through there. Been through there numerous times.
Yeah, it's interesting when you're heading, especially when you're heading east, because of the way the trail curves, it looks like a solid block of orange, you know, like, oh, can I really get through here? But it does say trail open, and they mean it. And housing related stuff. So Fitchburg has a housing plan, and it was last updated in 2019. The city is engaging with a consultant, plus city staff are going to work together to update that for this year. We should be doing that every 5 years or so.
I noticed in the mayor's article in the Fitchburg Star, she mentioned something about a housing survey. I tried to find it on the website. I couldn't find it. Where's it at?
Is that available yet? I guess I'm not off the top of my head. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, she mentioned it in her article, and I went to go try to find it because I don't think I did it. But
okay.
So,
well, that's interesting.
Unless I was looking in the wrong place, but I tried to do the search engine and try to find it. Couldn't find it.
Yeah, you're probably best off going through the menus rather than trying to use the search function.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go under government and
Yeah, try different
planning
ways.
and zoning, there should be a housing option under there, I would think. We are also taking steps. So Gary Gorman is a local developer of affordable housing, and he's got a proposal to develop 75 plus small lot single family homes, taking advantage of our affordable housing fund. So every time we have a TIF district that has reached its end of life, we can leave it open for 1 more year, and then that entire increment gets collected, and at least 75% of it must be spent on affordable housing. So we've done that with several TIF districts, and we now have a little over $10 million in that fund. So this is a way to utilize part of that. So the way this would work is that the city would pay for the infrastructure changes, so any new roads, water, sewer, that kind of thing. And then the Gorman Development Company would produce the houses, which would be right around like a $300,000 price point. And then another use for that affordable housing fund is down payment assistance. So what we want to do is help people get a 20% down payment, and then over time, whatever we gave them would come back to us, either when they sell or just, you know, when they get far enough along. So it's kind of a revolving fund, you know. You probably all noticed that revaluation notices went out, so everybody's assessment jumped probably between 10 and 15%. I think overall in the city, the average was like 12%. So if you increased like about that much, your tax bill, at least the city portion of your tax bill, is probably going to be about the same as it was last year. And the strategy on this is that we're going to do full revaluations on odd years, and then we'll just do maintenance years on the even years. And the theory there is that the city clerk's staff manages elections and also board of review stuff. And so they don't want to have to do both of those in the same year. And so the even numbered years have the big elections, so the odd numbered years are going to have the full revaluations when everybody panics about their number going up. We did a District 2 listening session on June 26th. It was held at the City on a Hill Church. I think there was pretty good discussion there. That was the second one, so the District 3 listening session had already happened like a month or two prior, and so 1 and 4 are still upcoming. I don't know that there's dates for those yet, but everybody's invited to go to every one, so feel free. Parks related stuff, Southdale playground equipment is being upgraded. The Tower Hill shelter over near, 3/4 of the way to McKee Farms Park from here, that is currently being renovated, so the new roof is pretty much done, and I don't know about they're still working on the interior and concrete work leading out to the street. Kids Crossing is slated to be replaced, so we've engaged a consultant, and there will be, architectural drawings and public input meetings, etc. Some sad news, Police Captain Ned Hartwick has resigned after 16 years with the city. So the police department is doing a bit of a reorganization to deal with kind of the perennial vacancies that they have. They just can't seem to hire enough officers. And so they're gonna restructure a little bit to kind of be as efficient as possible with the staffing that they currently have. So they're gonna do some promotions using up the salary savings from those positions that remain open, and shuffle things around a little bit. And it sounded like a pretty good plan. Council was on board with it. Mayor seemed to be on board with it as well.
What's the update on the police station? Where are we at with it?
I believe Ben's gonna give us an update later on.
Yeah, I think it's in the sustainability, maybe Phil will be, but
Okay, yeah.
it's out to bid.
Oh, okay.
Another retirement here,
Didn't see that.
building inspection manager John Crook has retired. He had a little party on the 4th of July. Paul Scott is gonna move into that role. As we heard, the council voted against the next management collection at the farmer's market. And then Monkey Shines is closing, I think, for basically the month of July and maybe a little bit more. They're gonna do kind of a rebranding, try and clean things up a little bit, I guess, dissuade.
Closing up early, don't you say?
Yeah, try and be a little more family oriented, that kind of thing. So that was a very close vote. It was 4-3, but they did get their liquor license. So fingers crossed that things go well from now on at Monkey Shines. And that is the end of my update.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item 7, staff and commissioner update. Ben, you want to give us an update on solid waste?
Yeah, so aside from kind of the work with coordinating with Dane County Waste and Renewables, we also applied for our solid waste transportation license. So the city is required to get a solid waste transportation license, basically to transport the street sweepings from the maintenance facility to the Dane County landfill. We continued the collection of plastic films at City Hall, but then also Pelletary is looking to allow plastic films at the recycling drop-off site, tentatively starting September 1st this year. It would be collected in the same container as the polystyrene dumpster. So the city's actually, we're getting a new dumpster since that one was a little rough. But there was kind of a persistent issue with things that were not polystyrene being dumped in there. A lot of just kind of packing peanuts, plastic films. So, rather than having to sort through all of that, it made sense for Pelletary to just start collecting it. And fortunately, they were able to find a user for that material. That's kind of always the thing. Someone's got to be willing to purchase it and be able to use it for them to collect it. So they do have some new partnerships. And that's something that we'll be looking to kind of promote and get the word out once the date is finalized. But it'll be packing peanuts, all the films that you can take to City Hall, still polystyrene, straws, I think, a whole bunch of stuff. So that'll be a good.
So that'll just be like mixed. You don't have to do any separating of that at all.
No, so all that stuff can just go into the one dumpster. And they have some ability to sort it at their material recovery facility.
Is that something we can promote in the Fitchburg Star, coming near you soon?
I think so, yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
So one thing I didn't mention in the council update, it's still in early stages, but ProMega wants to build a little boardwalk out to one of the springs, one of the nine springs, right over off of Fontana Way, off of the Cap City Trail. There's a, I don't know, must be within 100 yards. There's a big spring there, so they're going to build like a boardwalk, and I think probably going to use that recycled composite decking material, which is the same thing that the plastic film gets recycled into. That's what our, the park bench is going to be made of.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's probably the end user for that, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think, interestingly, I don't remember exactly what products are, but some of it I understand can get basically recycled into certain kinds of oil that they can use for industrial
interesting
purposes. Not like fuel oil, but maybe it's more like
things.
Yeah, something like that. Is my understanding. Yeah, interesting.
You may know the answer to this. So, one thing that could possibly be done with a lot of our garbage is to incinerate it to the point where there's no nasties coming out at the end of the smokestack. And I presume, because we're not doing that, what I just said is impossible. But I don't know if you can offer any insight.
Yeah, that is the big concern, combustion of who knows what, could, just general municipal solid waste, all sorts of things that you wouldn't want to burn, harmful fumes.
I'm thinking specifically of plastics.
Right, if you got, plastics, sure, but if you had, kind of a end of pipe way to screen out, clean up the fumes, so, everything that's coming out is just, basically
water and CO2.
Yeah,
rather than
the air you breathe and all the nasty stuff is getting caught. I would imagine it's just not economical to do. And then, I guess you'd incinerate it, so all that's left is carbon, but maybe there'd be some other components of that leftover material that could potentially still be harmful, but yeah, I would imagine it's just the economics of it. Phil might know something about that.
I just read something about this recently. It's a couple years old, but in brief, Europe does a lot of waste incineration, and for a long time, I think there's been this idea that you pretty much just get CO2 coming out of it. There are more recent questions about whether it really is safe, whether the burned off byproducts are more toxic in the air than what they thought. Certainly the economics are a major factor, and because we don't have that infrastructure in the U.S. right now, it would be a little bit more expensive to get over that hump. That would have to be something done in partnership with Dane County at a bare minimum. But I do think the safety of the byproduct is the big question, right?
I guess one more question. How do we transport our street sweepings? What's a typical size of the load, and how do we, is that via dump truck or?
Yeah, dump truck. So it's, they'll basically keep it in this enclosed area at the shop until they got enough to load a truck up, and they'll put it in the dump truck and haul it to the landfill. Yep.
And do they put a cover over the top of that?
I don't think so.
What do they, and they probably don't spray it down either because we pay by the ton.
Yeah, right. I don't think any of, I guess I don't know for sure, but I can't think of any of the trucks that the shop have that have a cover on it. Maybe there is a couple or so.
I imagine that's even worse than the gravel,
Gravel, yeah.
This is
Kinds of stuff,
sand
yeah.
and dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know if you can go back and take a look at the pile, but it kind of solidifies a little bit. So I don't know if there's that much that.
Comes like concrete.
I suppose there's a good deal of tar in there.
Hardens up a little bit.
Okay, stormwater.
So let's see, like I mentioned earlier, we did have our bid opening for the Crescent Road stormwater improvements project or utility improvements project, looking to rebid that one. We did complete an inventory of rural culverts. We did add some that we previously didn't have documented in GIS and discovered a few maintenance issues, nothing that really required immediate replacement of the culvert, but ones that we know to keep our eye on or to get a couple little end walls fixed. You know, people hit them with the mower and, you know, can just kind of repair that. So that was good. We did finalize some locations for the Yarmouth Greenway Bank stabilization project, so that's another item we can kind of talk about at a future meeting. But
remind us again, what is the main remediation that we're going to do there?
It's largely going to be a combination of taking some of these vertical banks, grading them out, so you're not getting this continuous undermining of the soil, putting a little bit of slope on it, and then depending on the location and how much forces from the water the slopes will be exposed to, it'll be lined with riprap, so kind of bigger rock, partially covered with soil again, topsoil, and then planted to kind of get those roots kind of wrapped in with the soil and
grass
rock.
on there?
Yeah, ideally some native plants. They could be challenging to get as much establishment just with the shade, not a lot of light. So there are some, you know, and a lot of it is not necessarily desirable plant species. So if there's some, you know, buckthorn and stuff that can be taken out to allow a little bit more light in, you know, that'll help as well. But there'll have to be some plants that are a little bit more shade tolerant for sure.
What's going over by the bike trail? What's that park over there where they cleared out all underneath the trees? Pine trees and everything.
Oh, along the Cap City Trail,
Yeah.
like between here
Yeah,
and
that's
Sayou
in the city, right?
That was the DNR, I think, taking out
the DNR?
taking out invasive buckthorn and stuff.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
But that's not city property then?
I'm not sure whose property it is. I asked Tim about that a couple months ago.
It could have been, I think, Dane County. Is that possible?
Possible.
I think it might have been the county. And then
It's right where the public hunting is allowed, the area, that same part in there.
Okay, because they would have, it was definitely invasive removal. I remember seeing that.
I mean, it was pretty extensive. I mean,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me of, or, you know, it seems like it's kind of like what they want to do with McGaw Park.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like they took out, I don't know, 3/4 of everything, leaving only the large trees, you know, the large desirable trees there.
It looks like they just left all the wood chips on site there.
Yeah.
You can see, so wood chipper at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I haven't walked back there since they completed that. We kind of did a little update to our private best management practice owner contact list. So that's just any private site that has a little rain garden, pond, stormwater facility in general. Sent them their annual maintenance reminders, a couple illicit discharge complaints that we responded to, then had a couple erosion control permit applications that we prepared for some city projects. The McGaw park pickleball court and our Crescent Road project. There's another park project, Chicory Meadows. They're resurfacing the tennis courts and there's a basketball court there as well, and doing a little bit of grading, putting a little swale in. Yeah, so those were a couple highlights for stormwater there. And then I don't know why I had my name on sustainability. It just
Copy and paste, copy and paste.
Ben, you want to take this one?
yeah, that's all you, Phil.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I can start with the stuff in the packet, and there's a few other items to add as well. So as I noted in the packet, I don't actually have a clear update from Paul Woodard on where we are with the bid process. I believe that the bids have gone out for design and construction. Because he's not in City Hall on a regular basis, it's kind of still need to follow up with him and get details on where things are at. I know that the last time we had a long conversation in the spring, the plan was that we were going to apply for LEED certification, and the expectation was that at a bare minimum we'd be able to get silver. If we were close enough to gold that just a couple more points would push us over the top, then we would probably push for that as well. A couple weeks ago, he let me know that his understanding from talking to FGM is that we're actually not going to be qualifying for LEED now. So I had a conversation with him. I didn't get all the details. I needed him to follow up with FGM, so I'm waiting to hear back from him on that. I'm not positive if the police facility actually will be pushing for LEED now or not. I am stressing the importance of that, but I'm not sure that I actually have any control over that decision at this point. Been pushing for it for 2 years, and I hope that that's not. I hope that we're not past the point of no return there. But it's a question right now whether that's actually going to happen.
So is that because we don't think we would qualify for it, or we don't want to spend the money, or any insight at all?
So I know that the cost was a concern. I know that the amount that FGM was quoting us at to oversee that process was a little on the pricey side, so we looked at a different vendor to oversee the LEED process. And I thought that we were settled there, and I guess it's maybe still up in the air. I don't know if that was, I'm not sure the details there. I know that the cost was a consideration, but that it fit within the budget that council allocated for the sustainability features. The only reason I could think that they would say it wouldn't qualify for LEED would be because there's some prerequisite that they don't anticipate they're going to be able to hit, but those are pretty basic. Unless we're doing the bare minimum to meet code, hitting the prerequisites for LEED is relatively basic. So that would surprise me if they didn't think that there was a prerequisite we were going to be able to get. Again, I just don't have updates yet, and I'm hoping to hear back from Paul this week. And if not, I may reach out to FGM directly. I don't want to go over send there, but would like to get those answers sooner than later. So just not sure where we're at there. A more positive bit of LEED information is after a sustainability conference in Dubuque in the spring, I had done a LEED for Cities webinar or seminar there. Did some online accelerator sessions with folks from the Midwest and California as well. That was kind of how they split up a region. But Fitchburg won a drawing, one of 10 cities to get a free 1-year organizational membership at the silver level, as well as I have a conversation with them scheduled for about a week and a half from now to discuss the particulars here, but free registration for a LEED for Cities application. So if we do want to, in the next year and a half, start pursuing our own LEED for Cities certification, at least the initial registration fee for that would be free, and I could join a cohort next spring as well. That if we're selected, we would have some additional technical support, complimentary from U.S. Green Building Council. So that's pretty exciting. Middleton has already pursued LEED. I forget if they were LEED Gold or Platinum. Sun Prairie is going through the cohort right now, so I've got some good examples to follow there if we want to pursue that. We've got some notes there on our EV fleet. We've got 10 vehicles and 7 chargers right now. We're still looking to add more vehicles. I don't know what impact the new budget bill federally is going to have on that, but I know that September 30th this year is the cutoff date after which EV credits are going to be eliminated. So any vehicles we buy before September 30, we can still submit those $7,500 rebates for the electric vehicle. After that, we would no longer get that incentive. So over the long haul, they still end up being a good economic choice based on fuel savings, but does change the 3 to 5 year economic window a little bit, so that'll have to be part of our discussions. But I'm working with finance to track our charging data as best I can because of Acts 2121 that passed in Wisconsin last year. Any charging that happens on our campus, we have to pay a 3 cent per kilowatt hour excise tax on that for any chargers that were installed after that act took effect. So working with finance to figure out what exactly we're going to owe for the first half of this year for that excise tax.
Phil, where are those where are those new 7 chargers located at?
We've got 3 at the maintenance garage, the Public Works maintenance garage. There are 2 in the library garage and 2 in the City Hall garage.
Okay.
There's 1 more. To this point, when we purchase an EV from Ford, and we've got 2 Mustang Mach-E's and 6 Lightnings, F-150 Lightnings, Ford has a complimentary charger program for municipalities, for government entities. So when we buy those EVs, we also get a complimentary charger from Ford. So we do have an 8th charger that hasn't been installed yet, and we're just trying to decide the best place for it. So we have 8 chargers, 7 are installed. Still conversations about building out our charging network a little bit more robustly. Certainly with the police services facility, we're planning on some charging, at least in the police garage. But yeah, right now those are the 7. We're not at this point, as far as any conversations I've been a part of, we're not planning at this point on any charging that would be public facing. That would require us to have conversations about what we would be charging the public for that. And certainly it's something that we could do. I know that some of our neighbors are doing that, but we just haven't gone that direction yet. There was a question last month about electricity from the Badger lift station that provides water for a chunk of South Madison, but also Southdale. After that portion of the town of Madison was incorporated into Fitchburg. What I know so far is that annually Madison is billing Fitchburg for the water usage, for essentially Southdale's proportional water usage from that lift station. There has not been any transfer of kilowatt hour responsibility credit. So our energy report for last year does not include the energy associated with the Southdale portion of that lift station. Still having some conversation with Madison about whether there is a feasible way to do that and if it would be appropriate. But that's kind of the quick answer to the question from last month, is that our energy report didn't include that. So that kind of helps to explain why our per capita energy usage decreased so substantially, is that a big chunk of the population we added, the water usage associated with that population add, we aren't claiming those kilowatt hours yet, but we'll see if we change that or not. And then I got final renewable energy percentage numbers. MG&E and Alliant provided me with the portion of their grid mix that is renewable, and so I was able to get our numbers finalized, and we're at 41.7% of the municipal electricity last year came from renewable sources. Should still be growing. We did still have a chunk of our rooftop solar that was non-functional or non-operational for last year, just because inverters needed to be replaced. And MG&E and Alliant are still investing in more solar. So we're not at 50% yet. I wouldn't be surprised if 2 years from now we are at 50, just based on utility growth. We'll see what the new federal budget does to utility investment in renewable energy. I think, again, it's still, I think we have passed a critical point. This is the direction these utilities are going anyway, but the pace of it may slow a little bit without federal incentives, and we just have to wait and see what happens there.
Phil, what was our energy percentage in 2023? Do you recall?
I want to say it was 39.7. I don't remember right off the top of my head. 2023, so the last few years have just been weird because of our rooftop solar issues. We have not had our full complement of solar inverters fully functional for an entire year since I want to say 2021. So each year there's a little bit of an asterisk. Now, our rooftop solar provides about 7% of our total electricity. So unless we're missing 10 or 20% of our rooftop solar production, you know, it's a relatively small amount, but still that could mean a 0.5%, 1% drop in our renewable proportion. But I think we were just below, like we rounded up to 40% in 2023, but I think we were just shy of it. So right around 39.7 is my recollection.
Thank you.
Yep. Planning department has an intern again for the summer, and I've had an initial meeting with her about, so with the sustainability plan, we've got those 42, 43 different metrics that we're looking to track. It is a pretty big effort just to put a spreadsheet together with what are all of our current values and specifically how do we, essentially a data dictionary, what steps are we going to take every year to track down those figures and to recalculate them. So I started putting that spreadsheet together, got a little bit busy. I've got the planning intern is helping me out with that, and it seems like she's going to do a pretty solid job at helping move that forward. So there's no rush on that, but by the start of next year, certainly I'll want to be able to get all those metrics calculated. So working on putting that together now. And yeah, those are all the biggest things for sustainability right now.
Question on the police facility. With the passage of HR 1, are the direct pay options still available as long as everything's put into service by the end of 2027?
It's a really good question. I don't have an answer yet. I know that Baker Tilly provides some education for us on things like that. Dane County's Office of Energy and Climate Change also has some information. I know when the Inflation Reduction Act passed, it was 3 or 4 months before there was a really robust information repository online, kind of helping to make sense of all the new credits and rebates provided by the IRA. I suspect it'll be the same here. I've heard some hints and some guesses, but I think people are still sort of trying to figure out exactly what this means. I know that there were numerous energy efficiency and renewable energy credits that already existed before the Inflation Reduction Act, and they were extended by the IRA, but I think a number of credits were slated to expire at the end of 2025, and typically budgets will just extend that deadline because governments aren't usually in the habit of eliminating tax credits that exist. In this case, they're eliminating them. So a lot of those efficiency and other tax credits that existed are going to go away at the end of this year. I hope that if we break ground, if we have contracts signed, if we've got money obligated before the end of this year, that will kind of be grandfathered into those. I don't know. Still have to figure that out. And we'll see, this could be part of the determination from FGM about LEED. Maybe there were some things that it was expected that we'd be able to fit them in the budget because of federal credits, and if those go away, maybe the money doesn't work anymore. I don't know. So I've got some more digging to do on that.
So to follow up on the police station, so it's out for bid, right? So what's the schedule then? Are we going to have construction started this year, or?
I think either late this year or early next year, and then occupancy in spring of 27. Does that sound right?
That sounds right. I know the hope was to break ground this fall, or essentially before frost. If it's out for bid now, then we're probably looking at getting contracts signed in September. So then we hope to break ground in September, October. It's just a guess. I haven't seen a schedule yet, but that sounds about right, Bill.
All right, anything else? item 9, or actually item 7D, activities being conducted or monitored by commissioners. Anything to report or update or want to share?
Has anybody from the Bike and Ped Commission contacted RCC? Phil, maybe you have some insight on this, coordinating on any sort of an event?
Yeah, I did send an email to Chris and to Andy Potts, the chair of the Bike and Ped Commission. I don't know if they've communicated with each other. I haven't heard anything else, but I sent them a quick message to let them know that both RCC and BPC had expressed interest in this, and just kind of let them take it from there.
Okay.
Did not ask Chris for an update on that before tonight's meeting.
I had one quick update. I don't
Yeah.
know, Ben, if you updated at the last meeting since I wasn't here, but did you give an update on the program with the Lions Club?
I did not the
Okay.
last time.
So I had reached out to Sean to get some contact information, and so last year with the program, they were able to meet the 1,000 pounds, and they did get their bench installed at McKee Park. So
Nice. Where at McKee Farms Park?
I think it's over by the Lion Water Fountain.
Oh, okay. Your kids crossing there.
Yeah, I haven't been over there to see it yet, but, and then the Lions Club decided they wanted to continue the program, so July 1st, they have
Hoping to get another ton.
started, it again to get another park bench.
Oh, nice.
So,
Well, people use plastic August
Yeah.
through June, but
Might as well,
not in
you
July.
Yeah.
that's right. So it'll be an ongoing program this year to collect another 1,000 pounds for another
Okay.
park bench.
Great, thank you for sharing.
I don't know if anybody enjoys listening to podcasts, but one of them that would especially, I would think, appeal to Tim is there's one called Volts. Volts.
VOLT?
VOLTS.
Okay.
Yeah. He's got like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years of content, and I just recently discovered this, and there's an awful lot of very interesting stuff about like district heating and cooling and distributed energy resources pooling together to become a virtual power plant and all sorts of interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's a really, really good podcast. He does, you can sign up for email newsletters as well. Tons of great content. Agreed.
I have to try that one out if I go on vacation next week or this week.
A lot of stuff that I had, no idea existed, and people have been, talking about this, putting it into place. And in addition, they'll have guests who have like solar companies that, like you pay it's sort of a turnkey solution where you just sign up with them. They'll put panels on your roof and a battery in your garage or whatever, and manage the whole thing for you. There's companies that do this in various parts of the country anyway. I don't know if there's anybody local who does that. He's got hundreds of episodes, and if you just kind of scroll through and find the ones that catch your eye.
I won't be here for the August meeting. I'll be on vacation. Out of the country.
Speaking of months, do we have the schedule for Fitchburg Star articles? I think you and I are supposed to.
Andy's
Andy.
Andy's on.
Yeah. I think, am I for November?
Was one of us supposed to be August?
Yeah, I think you're August.
I'm August?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I'm November.
Andy will tell us for sure.
I missed the last meeting too, so I am behind. But what did you just say, Ron? You're on for August?
No, I think I'm for November. Bill's
I
August.
might be August, yeah.
All right.
I can look
Which
at,
is coming up, so.
yeah, it is.
So
We've got October,
we need September and October then?
September, October.
Was it, we had a schedule in last month's packet, is that
We
right?
shifted around last month.
Yeah, we shifted it last month, so.
Okay. Well, who took the official notes?
You have the copy of the unofficial.
Yeah, let me pull that up. All right.
Well, Bill has August. I can come up with one in between there if needed.
Okay. So it says Bill will take October.
Ooh,
Who?
Bill on October.
so who's August?
She mentioned about doing an article. It says Ron, you're on for November.
Yeah.
It does not say anything about August.
We have someone for August.
Yeah, I think so too. Might just have
Was
to-
Jim gonna do one? I feel like he said he was gonna do one, but I don't remember what the schedule was.
Yeah.
Just have to take a peek at the video from the last meeting. I know it was
Yeah.
definitely discussed.
It's not unofficial meeting minutes.
Just got Bill for October. Ron in November. Jim doing one at some point. There's something Phil will reach out to Fitchburg Star about a larger article in the August Fitchburg Star.
Oh. Does Phil remember?
Yeah. I recall that conversation. I haven't done that, but I definitely can. Yep.
Are you still okay with that?
It might be tight, but yeah, I can write pretty quickly. Yeah, I can. They might have their August edition already pretty well locked down, but I can message them about August or September.
I pulled up my notes. It said maybe Phil was gonna do the energy report and sustainability plan for August. That sounds like a pretty big job.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was ask them about whether they would be interested in a larger article.
Right.
And if not, then I was possibly just going to do something as the RCC article instead. But I have not reached out to him yet, so got to get on that this week.
Okay, well, let me know, because I do also have a note that says, if you don't do August, that I would have done August.
Good to know.
If you do August, I mean, would Andy do October then, or?
Andy, do you have anything that you're planning on that you would, like, that you've got ready to go for August, or would you?
I do not, but I can figure something out. I have lots of plant stuff to talk about. Plants and animals, that type of stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you want August, then I would do September. And Ron, wait, who was
Let's do
October?
it in September. We don't have anybody for that yet.
Is September still open, Andy?
Yes. Unless Jim steps up.
I mean, I can do October.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna do September.
my notes said I was gonna do August unless Phil did. You would take October, and I don't have anything written down for September, so maybe that was Jim.
Yeah, we'll see. Otherwise, I could always do another leaf article, leaf-free streets, or something of that nature. Just general.
Yeah, I could also plan on something for September, possibly jumping off this in light of the HR1 passing, kind of talking about what you can still do once tax credits go away.
Yeah, that's kind of what I had in my head for an article too, you know, given the December 27 deadline. If you're planning on, if your furnace is old enough, you might want to switch out to a heat pump. If your roof
So
is,
you might do that for August then, Bill?
well, I'm not sure about August, because there's probably, like you said, sometimes you need a little time for some research, but if Andy wanted to do something for August on plants, because he's an expert on plants already, that just might flow real freely. But I think we should do something on HR1 sooner rather than later. So if not August, then September, just because there's precious little time left.
So,
Yeah, and I'll certainly put something in my. I'll certainly put something about it in the Green e-newsletter for July and August, but I think having a star article as well would be good.
So Andy, you think you could have something for August then on plans?
Sure.
Okay, so we got Andy for August, Phil for September, Bill for October, and me for November.
Okay, so Phil, well, what if I did September on HR1 and Phil did October on, well, I guess what, are you thinking that you're gonna do the energy report and sustainability plan as this, or what would you like to do for an RCC article?
I would like to see what the star is interested in. The sustainability plan wasn't really covered at all in the star. So I don't know if it's something where they would just be open to me writing a larger article, or if they would want to have one of their columnists actually write something, and they would just get some content from me, and that would kind of influence whether I'd want to also write something for the RCC blurb or not.
Okay. Regardless, if I do an article on HR1, I will lean heavily on Kathy Kuntz's emails and probably hit you up as well, Phil.
Yeah, be happy to help throw that together.
All right, so that kind of leaves December, Ryan. Could you come up with an article, you would think?
I'm sure I can come up with something. I guess it really depends. I have obviously never written anything for it. Not entirely sure what the focus would be, but I'm sure we can talk and I can figure something out.
You can go to fitchburgstar.com and read previous articles just to get a flavor for what people have been doing.
Sure.
So we'll put you down for them.
And it's 500 to 700 total words. Is that right?
It's not that long.
I can send you a little guide for what they like.
And it's strictly text. You can't include any graphics or even a bulleted list. You can't do, right?
No, it's just all. I think it's all being all narrative. Yeah.
Just so you don't get too fancy.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? If not, call the meeting adjourned at 8:32.
Well, we got announcements though, right?
Announcements. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Next meeting is August 11th.
What's that?
Next meeting will be August 11th.
Yep.
Any other announcements?
No meetings coming up or events that we have planned.
No, later in either October or November, we're gonna start the green, or the movies, the film, but I can't think that far right now.
I think it was November was what I had in my head.
Yeah, I think it was November we were gonna start, so,
And then every other month, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Are we looking for, I mean, should we be submitting ideas for topics for that first meeting? Or?
No, Chris and I have to have a conversation with them because they have a site that we have to use that provide films. And then if what we're looking for, they don't have it, then we've got to sign up and I think pay a little something for the film. It's like a whole different thing than what we've had to do in the past. So there's a new process that we have to kind of iron out first. So,
But the Green Thursdays will always be a film with a discussion, not just
yes.
a panel of experts in a discussion or anything. But
Yeah,
probably-
no, it's, I mean,
Okay.
typically how we've done it in the past is, you know, it's a film on sustainability of some sort, and then we have a discussion after. So. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Right, any other announcements? If not, we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 8:34. Thank you, everyone.
All right.